May 2nd, 1972 was a normal day for the people in Hayward, United States, and it was also the day in which the legendary person Dwayne "Rock" Johnson was born. Born as the son of one of the famous WWF fighter Rocky Johnson, Dwayne did not have always had the life that he was meant to in the start. Yes, you all know him for his charismatic presence in WWE to one of the highest paid actor in Hollywood, but Dwayne went to a stages of being a cutthroat and robber to a stage of depression which almost destroyed him entirely. But a single man came to his life for his rescue, which changed him forever, making him from being one of the odd and dreadful child to the most disciplined athlete, wrestler, and actor of all time. So, how did the 6-foot, 230-pound football player become the unavoidable presence in one of the largest wrestling enterprises and then become one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood of all time? Well, let's find out as we unravel the life of Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock. Born as the son of Wade Douglas Bowles, known by the ring name Rocky Johnson, Dwayne did not have the healthy childhood that most of those have today. Even though his father had a reputation in wrestling then, it did not pay to manage or run a healthy family. So Dwayne was not interested in becoming a wrestler as he realized that the money was not enough to get the life he wanted. During his childhood, Dwayne spends his time moving around a lot. He spent his time briefly in Auckland, New Zealand, and Charlotte, North Carolina. And at the age of 12, he moved along with his mom's family to Hawaii, and turned out to be one of the most difficult periods in Dwayne's life. His father had almost no work during that time, so the income of the family was reduced drastically, and this made Dwayne furious. To earn more money, he went the hard way. He started stealing and got arrested multiple times, along with fighting other kids in school, which made him the reputation of being the angry kid. All show clear evidence of a lack of proper guidance. So the family relocated to Nashville, Tennessee before they settled in Pennsylvania. But here is when the situation got even worse. Johnson attended the Freedom High School in Bethlehem Township, Pennsylvania, and by that time, Dwayne had earned the worst titles in his life. He was always in front of the principal's office answering for the deed he had done, which ranged from petty crimes like theft and fights to even check frauds. Records even state that by the age of 17, he had been arrested multiple times. Johnson's life was going through a dark side during this time. Even his parents were not sure what to do with from their side, until a man appeared in his life whose advice gave Johnson one of the crucial shifts which changed how he viewed his life and might have even helped him to become the man he is now. Jody Quick was the high school football team coach when Dwayne was studying at Freedom High School. And he saw something in Dwayne that nobody even cared to look about. At that time, Dwayne was so well above the size of a normal kid of his age that Jody thought he would perfectly fit in the high school football team, even though Dwayne was not that interested at first. Jody convinced him that if he was looking for an escape from the city and looking for a better life, football was the way. This changed the life for him. While working in a team and training hard, Dwayne learned so many values in his life like discipline, hard work, and commitment. He found out that if he put all his effort into this sport, it would change his life forever. And it all turned out to be right. Just after a few games, Dwayne became the favorite of everybody. Teams came lurking around to pick up this young talent. He was even named among the top 10 high school football players by the college recruiters. From being a rebellious outlaw, he turned out to be one of the most potential athletes of his high school time. By this time, Johnson got a bunch of offers from top-tier teams like Penn State, UCLA, Clemson, and Florida State. But he accepted the offer from the University of Miami, where he was provided an athletic scholarship, which was one of the best football programs in the nation. Everything was set for him. He just needs to jump on his game and continue as he is now to bring the glory. But this turned out to be the most disastrous debut for him and his career, which led to anger and depression and made him do things he did not even think of pursuing. In 1990, Dwayne was provided with the opportunity to prove his worth, and he made it well. The Miami coaches were very impressed by his pace and strength, and he almost outperformed anyone in the team. But it did not last long. Before his debut match, Dwayne met up with a massive shoulder injury, which was so severe that he did not get a chance to start. The coach gave his chance to Warren Sapp, who turned out to be an NFL Hall of Famer. This struck Dwayne hard. All the moments he prepared have come to nothing. and this was when he went through the stage of depression. Back in that time, WWF was gaining more popularity all over the world. But the idea was not even in the lamest distance for Dwayne Johnson. He thought that the NFL would be the way out for him, and when he found out that it would not be an option for him any longer, Dwayne was destroyed. After the injury, Dwayne almost ended his career in Miami with 78 tackles and 4 sacks, and these records were not enough for him to get hired by any coach. There was a stage when he played on a team for just $230 US, which was less than the minimum age at that time. Dwayne came back home after these episodes with just $7 in his purse, but he was not ready to give up. Now that is when he thought about his backup plan of being the wrestler. He asked his father for help. Rocky Johnson, who knew that this career might not be worthy as it hardly pays the bills, was reluctant at first, but Dwayne convinced him to train him and make him a wrestler to take part in WWF, where he never thought that he would be facing way more challenges than what had happened now. On November 17th, 1996, the stadium was jam-packed with audience all looking for a rising star. Dwayne was named Rocky Mivia. Looking all bulked up on a blue weird costume, he was ready to conquer his new quest. As he was the son and grandson of known fighters during that time, Rock did not have that much pressure on him. But things did not turn out well for him on this side either. Even after the WWF promoted him, the fans began to hate him very much. As you know, fans are the name of the game in WWF. The stage is scripted, and the best role goes to the fan favorite. And if Dwayne does not satisfy the audience, they may have to remove him from the show. So he decided to satisfy them with another avatar. After disappearing from television for a month due to a knee injury, Johnson was back in the ring, but this time having a complete makeover. With a much more meaner look and even agitating the audience, that moment was the start of the legacy of The Rock, one of the famous heels in WWE. Now, as a heel, Dwayne completely resonated with the audience. Meaner, stronger, and more natural in the ring, agitating and disowning another wrestler, interviewer, and even the audience themselves. People began to like him. From 1996 to 2002, The Rock became one of the influencing personas in WWE and became known as the People's Champion. But in his mind, he prepared himself for one of the greatest breakthroughs of all time, the Hollywood. Dwayne knew that acting wouldn't be that hard for him. I mean, it was what he was doing in his wrestling career, so he tried to give it a go. Initially, he appeared a cameo in so many shows like the Star Trek Voyager and Saturday Night. That's 70. And in fact, he had a predominant face that reminded in the mind of the audience. Robert Edbert, one of the famous movie critics, once in an interview said, "This guy is going to be a major movie star. You should get out of wrestling as soon as possible." And it turned out to be true. On 2001, he had one project which was considered to a big turnover in his acting career, starring as the Scorpion King in The Mummy Return. Even though the role was brief, Johnson earned about $5.5 million from that single movie, and it was just a start, which led to so many opportunities, like acting in the prequel of Mummy Returns as the Scorpion King. But as his stardom raised in Hollywood, things began to become complicated in the wrestling ring. The fans were not happy about his entrance in Hollywood, and in 2002 SummerSlam, when he was giving them a post-match speech, they started booing him. This pissed him off, and he had to take a long break from wrestling. And to make matters even worse, a couple of movies that came along like The Rundown turned out to be a flop. Well, this made him think about his career for a while. Even though his heart was in wrestling, his contract with WWE expired in 2004, so the only career that lies ahead is Hollywood. But things were not going right for him. Most of the movies like The Walking Tall and The Doom did not see the success he expected. So he decided to rebrand himself. A more lean, charismatic Rock was born at that moment, and it saw results. He acted in movies like The Game Plan, Race to Witch Mountain, and The Walking Fairy, which all succeeded. All these movies gained more than $100 million. But even then, Dwayne was not satisfied with himself. He was known to be a friendly and loving person in real life, so he didn't have any challenge to himself acting in these movies. He wanted to change the perspective of people towards him. He hired a new team for him. He told them to stay away from family roles as of now and get into more challenging roles and more action types. And he even reinvented himself, shaving his head, becoming more bald, which all fits for being the action figure aura. And it came into action after acting in some of the movies like the buddy comedy Faster, which all were box office epics. which also paved his way to enter into one of the biggest film franchises, The Fast and Furious. Playing as Luke Hobb, an arrogant, harsh officer, Dwayne portrayed the role very well. This was one of the most famous roles in his career. From all the franchise movies, Dwayne made a huge bag of money and fandom. And from there on, he builds his empire brick by brick to become one of the most paid actors all across Hollywood. Rock life lead an example to all of us. Even in the stages of poverty, depression, and so many falls, he made to rise up on each level stronger than before. And with his hard work and determination alone, he created a brand for himself, which became one of the biggest names in Hollywood. And it doesn't end there. His name is still reflected in the wrestling rings often. And yes, the money he made speaks for himself too. And if you want to know what harm can money and influence do,